But anyhow, we fired on her for another 3 hours and hit her 40 more times. I'm sorry to say that there were 40 men either killed or mortally wounded on the Galena, and there were another 10 that were seriously wounded. But the neat thing about that battle was not so much that the Galena was one of the old-fashioned ships, but the modern ship, the Monitor, came into view. Now, as you know, the Monitor had just recently fought a battle in Hampton Roads called the Battle of Hampton Roads against another steel-hulled ship called the Merrimack. And that was not only of historical significance, but it totally changed the idea of what naval warfare would eventually become. Because eventually, you had to change, because the old-fashioned wooden ships, no matter how you tried to, they would cover them with railroad ties and all kind of stuff to keep them from being blown up. But oftentimes the wood they used to protect them would create splinters that would cause serious injuries. So anyhow, it was our fun to be on the bluff, firing right down on the Monitor. We fired time after time after time and hit her multiple times. But as you know, she was a steel-hulled ship, so it was to no avail. We had fun firing on her, and we were fortunate that she couldn't elevate her guns enough to get up and hit us where we were at. So this was one of the major battles. I was involved in other shipboardings and things like that as time progressed. One time I was even shot in the back of the neck. We had boarded this U.S. vessel, and I was racing down the gangway ahead of my men, and I felt this terrible pain in my neck, almost like a giant bee sting. Well, it turned out I'd been shot with a pistol ball. And I started to say my luck ran out, I was shot, but actually my luck began because I survived that injury. It took me 2 or 3 months of recuperation, but I did manage to get back on another ship doing other duty. Well, by and by, the war came to an end. I signed my parole, but I didn't really feel comfortable coming back to Wheeling. So I went to Canada for about 5 years. I was in Halifax, Nova Scotia, just making a living at whatever I could do. In the meantime, I kind of stayed in communication with my family and friends in Wheeling. Now, if you're from Wheeling and you've ever left here, you understand that there's something that draws you back to these hills and valleys and the trees and our climate. So I just felt finally that it was time for me to make a chance to come back to Wheeling. I worked as an insurance man, I worked as a little bit in realty, and I dabbled in survey work. But in 1881, I felt comfortable enough that I decided to run for public office. So what I did was I applied to become the engineer of the city of Wheeling, and in spite of my Confederate background, I was elected. And things went so well that I stayed in that position, being re-elected until I finally retired. The neatest thing to me, though, was during this time, I was appointed by the governor of the state of West Virginia to a special commission that decided the borderline between Pennsylvania and West Virginia. And I thought that was one of the neatest things. It was an honor to be appointed to this commission, but I thought it was really cool to be involved in the historical significance of this position. Well, that's a little bit about me. Now, I can't remember, did I tell you where my present place of retirement is? 6 stones down, the one with the curved arch, you'll notice there's a small Confederate flag. Well, that's where I reside. And I appreciate you coming by and visiting, and I hope you have a good day.